Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But you know what happened today? Today, I think Don, the program manager, the station manager, threw me to the curb. But you know what? It doesn't matter that he threw me to the curb because I have a wonderful person here with me. Well, we are with the new engineer. Well, not a new engineer. She's with La Palabra and everything else. We have Leticia Luisa Lopez. ¿Cómo estás, mi amiga?
Bien, bien. ¿Y usted?
Estoy bien aquí. Look here, we are going to have a great show. You know what? If we have a little kinks because we haven't worked together yet, it's still going to be cool, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It is going to be cool, and that's how we are going to roll with it. And then I'm like the happiest person in the world because, you know, my daughter came in from Washington, D.C. to spend Christmas with her mommy and daddy, and she's here in the studio. Look at her giving that crazy.
Oh, yeah, you can't see what I'm doing. Right.
And she's here, so she's going to be here on the show, you know. And you know what I told her? I said, don't be surprised. I may put you on the spot because I may want to hear the millennial point of views. You know, I hang with a whole lot of these millennials, and I love you guys because you guys are going to take over the world. You guys are the ones who are going to make things happen.
So young at heart.
Huh?
Oh, my son, you're
Yes.
young at heart.
Yes, I'm young at heart. You see, even my daughter knows I'm young at heart. Anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show. It's a serious show. It's an important show. I want you guys to listen in detail, and then thereafter, I want you to make sure and give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Today's show's title is Americans Suffer Because Too Often We Do It in Silence. Let's stop it. Let us stop it. Right, Leticia?
I agree completely.
We are a suffering people. You know, I'm going to talk about 80% of people in this country, and from a point of view that nobody really knows what's going on, and everybody's scared to tell what's going on. But I want folks to start just opening up. You know what I mean? We need to have folks open up. Don't you agree?
I agree.
You know, so we are going to do that. And, you know, I you know what? I hadn't listened to La Palabra, but now that I've met one of the folks from La Palabra, I am going to have to really go there porque tengo que practicar mi español también, ¿sabes?
I have the same problem, too.
You know?
Oh, no.
I hear you. But anyhow, folks, look, the title of the show today, Americans Suffer Because Too Often We Do It in Silence. Let's stop it. And the subtitle is Most of Us Live in a Self-Imposed Bubble. Most of what we see of others and others see of us is nothing but a facade. We suffer in silence as the corporate state uses that reality against us. I want to repeat that last sentence. We suffer in silence as the corporate state uses that reality against us. Because we are willing to suffer in silence, because we are willing to be just this way. That is the reason why it can happen, folks. That is the reason why. Anyhow, folks, the program, Politics Done Right Daily listener called in yesterday. Her story broke my heart. As the conversation went on, I felt somewhat better. It was clear she was one of the working poor most talk about, but seldom realize they themselves are a part of that group. The great thing about our conversation is that she understood who to blame and what to blame. Today's show is about suffering in silence. The holiday season is here. It is a time where everyone believes they've got to be gifting. I got to gift that person. I got to gift that person. Is that person going to gift me? It is a time we are psychologically manipulated to mortgage some or most of the New Year's disposable income. Let's commit to better. Let's commit to stop suffering in silence. Let's commit to each other against the system that indoctrinates and enslaves. But, you know, folks, before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honing on Mondays at 2 p.m.
And of course we have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its best, hosted by
Juan Flores on Tuesdays at 12 noon.
And then we have Jenner Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bagra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi high, where ancient sounds meet future beats. When?
Those are Thursdays from noon to 2 p.m.
And of course, really, but not really, a hip-hop and R&B parody show on
That's Wednesdays at 10 p.m., hosted by Rosemont and Marcel Monroe.
And then there's, you know, the show that comes after this show. We just love her. Border Radio, Best of Americana music featuring
Susan Darrow, right after this show at 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
And then Black on Both Sides, a public affair program where they, with the effort to highlight politics and public affairs. And when is that again?
Though that is Fridays from noon to 2 p.m. on our HD2 side.
Absolutely. So, folks, check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to the politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The
corporatocracy.
Ah, you heard that again. The corporatocracies, my brothers and sisters. We are the ones. We are the ones. Anyway, folks, please remember, we're not in Fund Drive. We are not in Fund Drive, but I want to tell you guys something. We need to ensure that we continue to support public stations. In the entire Southeast Texas, KPFT is all that you've got. The only progressive station in this entire region. We need to make sure that you continue to support it. We ask kindly that you go to kpft.org at your convenience and support us. And you know what? Put in that thing that you're supporting Politics Done Right, that we brought you there, so that when Don and all those folks in that accounting office start looking at stuff, they can say, oh, yeah, Politics Done Right is holding its own. Politics Done Right is holding its own. And we are bringing folks to the fold. But, folks, you know that we have this thing called the Blog of the Week that is going to be coming up pretty darn soon. So what time is it?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. Title of the blog post today is Fully Employed. 2 raises since 2005. 25 cents and 15 cents. She now knows who to blame. It goes like this, folks, and I want you to listen. This woman's life could be anybody's life, but I'm not specifically talking about her life now. I just kind of used her as the tie-in because it's her reality, but it's a reality of most Americans. Americans' form of suffering may be the reason why politicians and corporations take advantage of them. Americans seem content to suffer in silence. The number of activists stirring the pot pales in comparison to the real suffering. If one doubts the financial plight of the majority of Americans, one should read Robert Reich's article in The Guardian titled, "Almost 80% of U.S. workers live from paycheck to paycheck, but here's why." And he states, the official rate of unemployment in America has plunged to a remarkably low 3.8%. The Federal Reserve forecasts that the unemployment rate will reach 3.5% by the end of the year. But the official rate hides more troubling realities. Legions of college grads overqualified for their jobs, a growing number of contract workers with no job security, and an army of part-time workers desperate for full-time jobs. Almost 80% of Americans say they live from paycheck to paycheck, many not knowing how big the next one will be. I want you to hear that. 80% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. That is what we call Americans suffering. Living paycheck to paycheck, knowing that if your car gets damaged and you have to pay the deductible, you may not have it. If your kid calls you up and say, "Hey daddy, hey mommy, I'm in trouble," you can't help. Think about that. That is where we're at today. The article goes on to state some inconvenient truths. And callers, please stay with me. I will be with you. The articles go on to state some inconvenient truths. The American worker wages have been flat for 40 years. 40 years. The income of the wealthy, it's been going up solidly 7% or so per year. The average American worker, they're still complaining about $7.25 an hour. That is like having been making $2 an hour back in the day. In other words, pennies, punies. And they complain about us asking for $15 an hour. The average American citizen should, or not the average, the minimum wage should really be $21 an hour. The American worker lost its bargaining power to the destruction of the union and the ability of corporations to form monopolies. Robert Reich is right for the most part, but many of his solutions are incomplete and will erode over time if we do not change the basic tenets of our economic system. We have a fundamentally flawed system that remains simply through the indoctrination of most. In other words, this system only exists because all of us are indoctrinated into thinking this is how it should be, this is how it is, and this is how it only can be, which is false. Specifically, if one gives capital beneficial treatment over wages and other forms of income, then those who hold the most of it will continue to be parasites to everyone else. There is absolutely no justification that the government taxes capital gains at a lower rate than the working person's wages. There is no reason for the depletion deductions, which further shortchange the American treasury of income, even as corporations extract and profit from resources that should belong to us all. No reason. There is no reason to allow an unlimited accumulation of wealth, as most of the time it is but the excess labor and unpaid services and intellect of those who actually produced. Does having an idea implemented by many using the accumulated knowledge of generations of humans, many times paid by millions of taxpayers, justify Jeff Bezos being the richest person on the planet? The answer is a categorical no. If we were not indoctrinated in the belief that any one idea from an individual is necessarily solely his own, we would be free to create policies that are more egalitarian. Here's what I really want to say, because that sentence was kind of a tight sentence. I wanted to keep it short, but then after reading it now, I'm saying, you know what? Maybe I should have said more. Jeff Bezos is the richest person in the world. Why? Is it that Jeff Bezos is great? Hell no. Is it that Jeff Bezos is a technical great person? No. Is it that Jeff Bezos did a lot of work? No. Jeff Bezos had an idea, and unfortunately, one of his ideas, believe it or not, one click on Amazon, he patented. Back in the early 90s when I decided to write an application, a web-based, this is when things were just coming out, and I did a patent search. I couldn't do one click. I just wanted to write a software package for other engineers to use. I couldn't write it because Jeff Bezos, well, not Jeff, Amazon owned the patent. I wrote that in, I wrote about that experience in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Boom. Check it out at Amazon. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It is important. It's important that we understand these issues. Jeff Bezos worked. His success came on the backs of every taxpayer. His success came on the backs of every intellectual person who developed software, e-commerce software. His wealth came on the backs of many, but only he capitalizes, and his investors capitalize on the intellectual wealth and all the wealth, your excess labor, your excess service of everyone else. It's so important that we are not indoctrinated into thinking that Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and all these billionaires, they made it on their own. They did not. You are a part of it. You are a part of their wealth as well. The above-mentioned realities and many others allow a few to grow at a faster pace than the economy at large. The mathematical fact is that such form of growth is unsustainable and parasitic. Yes, I said parasitic. Parasite is something that just takes, but offers nothing in return. In America, the wealthy, many unknowingly are sucking their unfair share. And like occurs whenever parasites infect, the host ultimately withers and die if left unchecked. And that's what's happening to Americans right now. As they are growing, as the wealthy is growing at 7% and the economy is growing at 2%, the only place to get their wealth is to take an unfair share, to take it away from you. And you know what? They used to tell us back in the 80s when Reagan came up with all these ideas about supply-side economics. They used to tell us, oh, we just need to grow the economy larger. We just need to grow. Ridiculous. It cannot. It's a mathematical impossibility. They are taking it from you. It's one economy. If somebody's growing faster than the other, that one growing faster is a parasite. And that parasite is sucking it from you. That is the reality. That is the only reality. That is the only mathematical fact. The only mathematical fact. In America, the wealthy, many unknowingly, are sucking their unfair share. And like occurs whenever parasites infect, these hosts ultimately, the host, you, wither and die. A recent caller to Politics Done Right should give many of us hope. She understood that our economic system is to be blamed for the plight of most Americans. Most Americans are neither worthless or lazy. The woman refers to herself as the working poor. She said since 2005 she received 2 raises, one for 25 cents and the other one for 15 cents. Many would say she should improve her skills or even change jobs. The point is, if her position only warranted a 40-cent increase in 13 years, when the economy grew by 50% in those 13 years, during that time speaks volumes about the extractive nature of the current economic system. The current economic system transfers profits from efficiencies to the wealthy, the corporate investors. We will force government to change policies when enough Americans are deprogrammed. And that's what KPFT is here for. KPFT, the great deprogrammer of Americans, we are not going to allow the lies to fester, to flourish. We won't. We will force government to change policies when enough Americans are deprogrammed from the false belief that the risk of one capital is more important than one risking life and limb, that one person's idea implemented by others justifies unlimited wealth extraction, and that the natural resources on the land belong to those with capital to extract it. Give every American access to success and watch a more equitable and sustainable growth. That means equal access to health care, meaning single payer Medicare for all, pay it forward, free K through college education, a living wage that guarantees food, clothing, and shelter, the same right of corporations to bankruptcy on any debt, and child care for working parents. We can afford it all if we do not allow an economy with built-in inequality. If we build an economy for humans instead of trying to adapt humans to a false economy. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Let's go to linea numero 1. David, come on in, David.
Yes, I have 2 points.
Yes,
to
sir.
make, But the first is completely different to what you were talking about.
No problem, sir.
But, I'll address your first point.
Yes, sir.
Capitalism without enforcement of regulation is what causes most of the problems that we have.
True.
And since Clinton overturned Glass-Steagall,
Yes.
and most of the regulation has been eroded and is continued to be eroded.
Yes, sir.
Plus overhauling of the tax code to give the wealthy all of these $1 trillion tax break, causing the deficit to rise is also a problem that we have. But what I really wanted to talk to you about was, are you aware of the anti-BDS movement that's going on?
Absolutely, I'm aware.
How they have attached it to the omnibus bill that is going to be passing, where they're trying to criminalize
Yes.
participation in
Yes.
any way, regarding Israel.
I followed that completely, and that is so. Let me tell you, well, put it this way: it's not only that Cardin had thrown that bill into the omnibus bill. That's not the only thing, but we can look at what happened here in Texas with Bahia. Bahia Malawi is a teacher here in Texas who they brought a contract to her. She is the only person in the Pflugerville school district, and they told her that she had to sign a contract that said, if you boycott Israel yourself, even if it's in the occupied territory yourself, you can't work for Texas.
And they fired her, yes.
And they right.
Actually, last year during Hurricane Harvey, they also tried to add, I don't know if they were successful, but they tried to add a provision for those receiving FEMA funds,
right,
that asking the same question, that if they were participants in the BDS movement, that they would not be eligible to receive FEMA funds.
right.
I think we are reaching to the point of 1984 times 100.
Well, I mean, I don't even want to qualify that. And let's say something real quick. Folks, we have a whole lot of open lines, 713-526-5738. Again, that is 713-526-5738. Give us a call. Let me tell you where I stand with the BDS movement. I mean, anytime anybody speaks with issues on Israel, it gets touchy because of the Israel lobby is one of the most powerful lobbies. They have the ability to throw somebody like Lamont off the air for saying nothing anti-Israel, just something pro-Palestinian. I mean, so
but since when has it become normalized that if you criticize Israel, you're automatically considered an anti-Semite?
Well, this
is ridiculous.
It is that is right-wing propaganda type advertising, and let me tell you better that there are so many Jewish friends of mine who are completely for the BDS movement, and not only that, and the reason they're for that is that they are ashamed. They are ashamed at the treatment that Palestinians get in the West Bank and in the other place. But anyhow, here's the issue. And this is a very important issue, and I want all my Jewish brothers and sisters to listen to me and listen to me well. You're good people. You have to speak up. What was done to the Jews in Europe and here in America was horrendous. What is still done to Jewish people here in America is horrendous. That reality should make the Jewish state be a state that is completely and not only entirely democratic, but also understand that the oppression of anybody is horrendous and it is bad. The issue is, the funny thing about it is, the way I see it, the leaders of Israel right now, Netanyahu and all these guys, they're not Jews. They don't even care, in my opinion. This is just a personal opinion. I don't think they give a rat's you-know-what about their own people. I honestly don't think so, because if they did, they would want to promote that we, the people who are so oppressed, would never do such upon anybody else. And I have so many Jewish friends that think exactly that way. But there is a Jewish lobby because, and again, and there's a power thing here that many of us simply don't understand. You say.
Well, I think you're missing out one thing. It's more than a lobby. It's about money.
Sir?
You have Democrats and Republicans.
Yes, you're right.
And money from AIPAC, and they are scared to death of
Yes.
any kind of criticism
Yes.
of Israel. And I'm not criticizing Israel. I'm just criticizing the fact that they're trying to legislate political thought.
There
Can't
is,
have an
you
opinion
can't
anymore.
do that. You
This is
cannot.
not America. This is not a democracy.
Right. You
anymore.
can't do that, David. David, you cannot do that. And you know what we need, but we need our Jewish allies to step out there now. We need our Jewish allies to come out and talk about free speech. We need them to do that and not sit back and just let it happen. You know, whenever you do that, that's where problems occur. Whenever you start hearing people start talking about Israel as an apartheid state, whenever you hear that comment, you should want to come out right away and refute that. And you want to be able to say, look, folks, this is the reality here. It is so important if you want to be frank and if you want to be true. Anything else, David, before I go to the next call?
No, that's about it. I just want people to be aware that they have to be careful about their political opinions.
Right.
Because the state of Texas and 26 other states have already tried to legislate this, and now they're trying to make it a national agenda by criminalizing it, trying to sneak it in the omnibus bill, the budget bill. So,
well, look, thank you so kindly for calling in, David. Please keep listening. Please keep calling, and
as always,
thank you for being
do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being a part of the family. You have a wonderful day now.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye. Okay, let's go to line 2. Jerry. Come on in, Jerry.
Yeah, it gets kind of old hearing you talk about rich people, successful people.
Right.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
You live in a nice neighborhood, right?
Yes, I do.
How many square foot is your house?
It's a big house.
How big?
I won't
Give me
say,
a
but
number.
it's a big, but I won't say, but it's, you know.
All right, well, I'm sure it's at least 3,000 square foot, right?
You can tell me your point that you're trying to make.
Well, no, come on, let's speak honestly, because you're always throwing out all this stuff. This is a local radio station.
Yes, it is.
Let's speak locally.
Right.
So you live in a nice neighborhood. You've got a big house. I'm sure your house is worth at least $250,000, and you're always talking down. If you look at yourself or someone else like myself looks at you, you're living the American dream.
Oh, really?
Okay? What do we know, really? You
Really?
are living the American dream, right?
Okay.
You got a big house.
Mm-hmm.
You live in a nice neighborhood.
Okay.
You're successful, correct?
Okay.
No, come on now.
Okay, let me. I gave you a chance to
successful.
talk. Let me go ahead and talk now. Okay.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Being successful is not a bad thing.
No, I that's why I want to answer you
You
now.
are successful, correct?
I want to answer you, and I want to answer you.
Okay, well, let me finish.
Yes.
And you are more successful here than you were back in your own country.
Well, I came
correct?
here at 18. Yes, sir.
Okay, then. So why don't you
Mm-hmm.
go back? Why don't you take a salary of $15 an hour
Mm-hmm.
and see how happy you are?
All right. Let me.
Let's take away all your wealth
Uh-huh.
that you've accumulated that I'm sure you worked
No,
hard
I like him.
for.
Yeah, it's fine.
You've worked hard for that, right?
Yeah, let me tell. I'm
So
glad.
let's take that
Yes, sir.
away.
I like
Give
Jerry.
it to somebody else.
Jerry. Look, there are other callers, but I want to keep you here for one reason, because you give me a chance to say something that is so very important. Okay, are you still here?
Yeah.
All right. Here's this, Jerry. I'm going to tell everybody a little
You
something
can't even
about.
be honest, man.
Oh, I'm going to be very
You can't
honest.
talk about
I am going to be very honest with you if you give me a chance to talk to you. Okay, here we go, Jerry. Here's the deal. Let me tell you. I came to America like anybody else, and I went to college, and America was great to me. I went to the University of Texas, got an engineering degree. I worked for corporate America for 5 years. I worked for NASA, everybody else. Some of my stuff is still on the space station. Okay? After working at corporate America for 5 years, I decided to go ahead and form my own company, and I did very, very well with my company. And you know what? I then had a daughter, and I sent my daughter to college, and I had a house, all that good stuff. And then as things went on, I said, you know what? I tell you something. This is something that everybody else had a right to. Everybody else. And you shouldn't have to bust your butt the way I busted my butt to get what I got. I busted my butt through racism. I busted my butt through all the isms and made it. And then let me tell you what I did. After that, and I saw the suffering of other folks, I said to myself, you know what? And my daughter's sitting down here in the office, in this studio with me, and she can tell you that I changed my life completely. And my life was like, I gave up all of that and became a political activist. Is that right, Ash? Is that what it?
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And they thought I was crazy.
Oh.
They thought, yeah, that's fine. They thought I was crazy, but I gave all of that up to become a full-time political activist, and I said, you know what, that's what I'm going to do full time. So, by trying to attempt to make it seem like, oh, I'm some sort of a hypocrite, that's the furthest thing that anyone could possibly say. I live what I speak. I live what I talk. Everything that I write, I live. Okay? So if you want to do that, my dear friend, you can call back and ask any other question you want to ask, and I'll answer that for you. Let's go to line number 3, El Señor Francisco.
How you doing today?
All right, talk to me, my brother.
Well, I want to bring up 2 points. First, let me just address the little elephant in the room. As you know, I've hearing your story and how you've come to where you are right now.
Yes, sir.
It's the same story of my father, my mother, and myself. I was born here in Texas. I was lucky enough to be born here. And everywhere I'm at right now, I'm working at $15 an hour, but I'm a welder.
Right.
I'm making that money because I sought the education for that.
Right.
I was given an opportunity, and I took advantage of it. And it was an opportunity that was available for anyone. I went to Job Corps and earned it. I earned it at 22 because after leaving the Army at 21, I saw that there was nowhere else I was going to be going if I just remained as a tool. And because of that, I'm humble, and I'm grateful for the opportunities that I have and that are going to come through. And anyone has access to these opportunities. There's no difference whatsoever between me, Jerry, you, or anyone else. We all have a chance to make life the best we can.
Right.
My second point is about what the previous conversation was about, and it's kind of alarming me how Netanyahu, I first heard of him through a speech at the UN in 2011, and how he was talking down and condemning Hezbollah, and how they were saying that Hitler was correct and that the Jews should have been eradicated, that the war that happened in the 70s was a just war and that they should have pushed harder. And then to hear the things that he's doing in Israel to the Palestinian people, to civilians, things that he is abdicating because it's all happening at the hands of a government that he is a part of.
Right.
Really troubles me. And then I remember another person, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, Rabbi David Hartman of the Heart Institute.
No, I'm not, but tell me about him.
Okay, he was... he said that what the Jewish people should look for is not to eliminate a problem, but to live with it. He said, I don't hate the Palestinians. I don't want to hate them. I want to live with them.
Right.
And that should be the only focus and the only goal. That the Israeli government should focus on finding ways to coexist.
Yes, sir.
Not to eliminate a problem.
Right.
Because all that has done so far is create more problems.
And
if you're asking my honest opinion, the status quo is just bodies and more bodies upon bodies.
You know,
it's not preventing the loss of life. It's not protecting the innocent, defending the weak. It is revenge. It is blood.
Sir, you're wise. You're wise.
Thank you.
That is correct.
I appreciate that. And so my question to you, I know you have to go, you have other callers. My question to you is that seeing the plight of Jewish people and how the formation of Israel came to be, and in the war that happened with Egypt after that, all the troubles that happened, do you believe that Israelis have a right to be scared, and out of that fear, they have a right to be premeditative in their strikes to protect themselves.
Israelis have the right to have fear. Israelis don't have the right for premeditation. Black people in many countries have the right to have fear. They don't have the right to use that fear to oppress anybody else for their fear. No, they don't. And I think we all have, and I can use that for ethnicities, I can use that for cultures, I can use that for a whole lot of things. You cannot use because the white supremacists in Appalachia, because of their culture and what they know, they look at folks outside in other parts of America out of their fear. You see, the reason I love everybody, right, is because I know that most bad things occur from the average person out of fear. When it comes to the Netanyahus, when it comes to the Trumps, it's not fear for them. It is using our fear to then do wrong. So there's a difference. And so no, your fear is not enough for you to do anybody else harm, my friend.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on your show. You're doing great work out here.
Thank you,
very
brother.
Very proud to be a part of this. I'm very proud to have you in our community.
Thank you so kindly for. You have a great day now. Okay, let's go to number 4. Scott, come on in, Scott. And I'm going to have to go a little quicker, so forgive me. Come on in, Scott.
Thank you. Well, I heard you discussing criticism of Israel, but I did not hear either of you refer to the First Amendment.
You know something? I think that's what the first caller, David actually spoke about 1984, and he also mentioned that we have to remember that we ought to have the right to say as we please. So no, he didn't say First Amendment specifically, but he alluded to the First Amendment, Scott.
Oh, I would explicitly refer to the First Amendment. It is clearly part of the Constitution.
Yes, sir.
I have read the text many times.
Mm-hmm.
It has no exception referring to criticism of Israel.
Right.
There is nothing in the text. And if the Supreme Court upheld Cardin's law,
mm-hmm.
Wouldn't they be wrong? You know, conservatives don't mind saying that the Supreme Court is wrong when they don't like a decision.
Exactly.
Liberals, I think, are a little bit more inclined to defer to the Supreme Court.
But Cardin is a liberal, Scott.
What?
Cardin is a liberal, and look at what he's doing.
Well, I would not call him a liberal on this question. I think a liberal position is to take the First Amendment seriously.
Yes.
And if he doesn't completely qualify. I don't know how I would be voting in Maryland.
Right.
I probably agree with Cardin on a lot of things, but
right.
not on this.
Scott, look,
yeah.
You're right about the Constitution, Scott. Look, thank you for continuously being a loyal listener, caller, everything. You have a great one, okay, my friend?
Thank you.
Thank you so kindly. Ashley, is there anything you want to add to the discourse? I saw you writing down a few things.
Well, it's funny how we keep going around to Israel and all that
mm-hmm.
thing. But I think the whole main point of this show in particular is about capitalism. We haven't really gotten to talk about it. And so I think Jerry was talking about, I guess how, since if you're a part of the upper class, how you can't criticize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we're definitely far from the upper class, so I'm not really sure how that goes. But it's kind of like, the only way I can say it, because I keep mumbling, is the comparison between the Forbes list.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest comparison I can think of. Here we have Jay-Z, who's worth $900 million, and we also have Kylie Kardashian, who's also worth $900 million. And the comparisons and how they're different upbringings, right? You have this guy who is in his late 40s versus someone who's only 21, and they're both at equal economic,
mm-hmm.
They're both equal economically. And so everyone is using that as a case where, like, that's how you can tell the difference in what's happening. Many, go as far as to say that, a lot of, white citizens are born into wealth, whereas, minorities tend to have to accumulate it and work at it because there's different starting points. And so a lot of people always also have the caveat where, like, you can't fault Kylie for being born into, you know, a family that is a marketing genius. You know, you can't fault her for that. But you do have to recognize, I guess, the disparity, how, you know, Jay-Z didn't come from a great place and he made it there, but he had to go through that many more hoops. So I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up.
I'm coming to the cause, and I like what you. And first of all, I'm glad that you brought in some millennial kind of topics here, because you know that we want to reach out to. And I'm coming to you, callers, but I want to expand on something my daughter just said, because I think it's important when she used something like Jay-Z. And how he made it. And I want to make one addendum to that. A lot of folks would look at Jay-Z as being a black person and say, oh, if he can do it, then these people don't have any reason to complain. I want to stress that there's systemic issues that make that not an always reality. I just wanted to touch up because she brought up Jay-Z and Kylie at the same time. I wanted to touch on that, but you guys have listened to the program before where we have touched on a whole lot of those issues. But anyway, thank you. That was a very good point. Let's go to John.
Hey, Gilberto.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Three things I want to talk about quickly.
Yeah, real quick for me today, because now I'm running out of time. But go for it, my brother.
Okay, yes, sir. Even though I have sympathy for the Palestinians over there in Israel,
yes, sir.
I think people forgot before 1940, Palestine the land was owned by the Egypt,
right?
And Egyptians used to call the Palestinians gypsies and squatters because they never really bought the land,
right?
And when Egypt sold the land to the Jews, they used to call them, well, it's the Jewish problem now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are a lot of Palestinians that I talked to, they still are living in Jerusalem peacefully.
Right.
They said the problem is sometimes they have these hardcore people. They said it doesn't matter. It's either us or them.
Right.
That's the big problem with them over there.
Now, let me just say one thing, John, and I want to talk about coverage here, right?
Yes, sir.
The last time we had a whole lot of bombings, right, in Israel, there were Palestinians were shooting rockets into Israel. And I think something on the order, and don't quote my numbers, but it's a magnitude and numbers that matters here. Something on the order of, let's say, 20 Israelis were killed. Okay?
Right.
Then we looked at what happened in Beirut and the West Bank, not Beirut, the West Bank. And I think it was the West Bank and the other region, I don't remember what it's called now. Over 2,000 Palestinians were then dead. And then the way the reporting went was as if somehow Israel took a massive hit. What I'm saying is, what makes people very dubious is when you see disparities like that. 2,000 Palestinians dead, 10 Israelis dead, and death is bad on all sides. But when you see the way it's reported as if the big what the big problem is, you have to wonder about scalability. You also have to wonder about the importance of life and whose life is more important than the other. I mean, if you put a Jewish person and a Palestinian person together, just the rank and file folks in the community, I am pretty darn sure those folks get along just fine. The same problems that we have here in America, how we have the separatists and all these other folks fighting against each other, is the same thing the powers in Israel is doing. It's the same thing that Trump would like to do here. Factionalize a place, create the disruptions between, and then the powers that be capitalize. My phrase in this show has always been, whenever we unite, it's a stereotype, but it's a good stereotype. Whenever we unite the ghettos, the barrios, and Appalachia, we would have won the war. John, I got to go.
Well, on 2 points on that one, that's a good point. First is that I think any nation that has the more modern technology, they're always going to look like the bad guy.
Right.
Syria, President Assad, he got the missile, the bomb, the jets.
Right.
Of course, he's going to do the most damage.
Right.
You know, just like Saudi Arabia with Yemen. You know,
right.
Saudi Arabia getting the most of the blame because they're the one that's sending out the jets and the bombs.
But
you see what I mean?
Those bombs,
so they're going to do the most damage.
Right. Yeah, they do the most damage. But I got to go, John, because my phones keep ringing. But thank you so kindly for calling. Thank you so kindly for keep listening. Okay, buddy?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Hey, Alberto.
My brother, talk to me.
I I tuned in late because I was getting over a damn migraine headache.
Oh.
The guy 2-3 calls back, Jerry, who was contentious with you.
Yes.
Help me understand something because I didn't hear his entire call. Was he challenging you based on your income as whether or not you have a credibility in making a statement about inequity or the situation in Israel? What was the deal with
He
him?
was challenged. Well, it is evident that he is a supply side rightist more than likely, but he was challenging because he probably looked me up. Okay, that's what he probably did. But here's the deal. That's okay because he gives us the opportunity to say, first of all, some of us decide that we're gonna actively do the job, which is what I'm doing. Okay? So yes, he tried to challenge me, Johnny.
So is he challenging you based on he thinks that you don't have credibility to make statements about inequity because he thinks you're high income?
Yes, that's his reason, even though I'm no longer high income at all. This doesn't pay. But yes, again.
Well, then it's interesting that I should point out that not more than a month or two ago, I think this very same individual called in criticizing me, trying to attack me personally. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do. Same guy.
Okay, so here's my deal.
Yeah.
Over the past recent months and years, I've periodically brought up this idea. It's a warning, actually, to keep tabs on certain callers because I think we have some people that are calling in either professionally or volunteering to call this radio station in order to challenge people personally rather than attack people on principle.
Johnny?
And they do things that they think will win them points. So in my case, where can he attack my credibility when I talk about inequity? I'm a low-income guy. So you can't win with these people either way.
But Johnny,
so that tells you they're attacking the messenger and not the message.
Right, but Johnny, but they're helpful. They're helpful, and let me tell you why I consider them helpful. Because they allow us to tell when a lot of hosts, when this guy call in, they'll either hang the phone up on him or they'll argue with him, etc. I don't want to do any of that. I want him to say his piece to make his argument, and then I want to come back to his argument to say, yes, this is exactly, because I am not talking to him. I am talking to our audience, your audience, my audience, Johnny. That's who I am talking to. So I want to be able to speak in phraseology that can get the message across, the greater message that you and I would want to get out there.
And all I'm saying to you is we should all keep aware that as the economy continues to soften, we're going to see our media, which is very rare, because it's not corporate media.
Right.
They have nothing better to do. They say, well, let's go ahead and attack these people because that's the next target that's available. And they'll attack the messenger on personal grounds rather than on the principle that we're trying to talk about.
And Johnny,
I find that really off-putting and annoying.
Johnny, I'm sure you will keep us on our toes. So thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother.
I'm not keeping you on your toes. I'm warning him that we got the jig is up and we know who he is.
Thank you so kindly, Johnny. I got to go to another call, but you're a good man and you keep listening. All right, brother? All right. Let's go to David. Come on in, David.
Hey, what's up, Exberto?
All right. Talk to me.
Well, this thing about the entire issue of Israel in this country, I think it would be more easily understood if people came to the understanding that our entire relationship with Israel is based on this thing called the Bible.
Okay, you're going to have to... What is it based on?
The Christian Bible.
Oh, the Bible. Okay.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus.
Yeah. I didn't understand. I thought it said Bible. Okay, got you.
Okay. Well, here's the problem with that. If you're a devout evangelical Christian, like most of the Republicans in Texas, you have no problems passing a law that declares that if you do anything to hurt Israel, then you are a law that punishes that. Of course, I don't think it's constitutional because I don't really think they can make a law that can punish us for our position against another country, because that's not any kind of treason.
I think, David, you're right, but the thing about it is while we prove the constitutionality of it, what happens is that, that woman doesn't have a job right now. You see what I'm saying?
Well, see, this is what I'm saying. As far as the issue of the Bible goes, now this is a completely different topic.
Right.
We have to ask ourselves the question, how much of the Bible can we really validate? Do we have Are we so absolutely, what I'm going to use the term, cocksure of ourselves that we can sit up back on our haunches and say, if you don't accept our interpretation of the Bible, like myself, I'm an atheist, and when I hear people tell me that Israel is God's chosen, I don't want to hear that argument. When people tell me that the Palestinians are God's chosen, I don't want to hear that argument. Because I don't think there's such a thing as God's chosen. Yeah.
David, as you're speaking to a humanist, so I mean, there are a lot. So I mean, I understand that, but I got to go.
No, I'm not only speaking to a humanist. I'm speaking to your audience.
I got that.
They can hear what I'm saying. I want them to get off their whatever. I got
to go to Carlos now, David. But thank you so kindly for calling in, and you're a good listener. You keep being there, okay, my brother. Let's go to Carlos. Carlos, come on in.
Yes. What's going on?
Turn it down, Carlos, and then let's talk.
All right. What's going on?
All right.
All right. So back to the Kylie Jenner and Jay-Z point.
Oh, I love to hear that. Go ahead.
Yes. So I think it's unfair to compare both of those people because they're celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
Not just that, but Jay-Z has a way different business, and he's not as marketable to young women as Kylie Jenner is.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Kylie Jenner has such a big empire, of course. Jay-Z caters more to music, clothing, things like that, Tidal, his streaming device. His things are on the come up. His things are about to pop soon, but not yet. He's not at his peak yet. Kylie Jenner, she probably isn't either, but it's not fair. Oprah is richer than her.
Right.
But, of course, I do think black people do face more, challenges and things to get to the top, but it's just not fair to compare those two.
My daughter's shaking her head, so she seemed to be agreeing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Kylie Jenner, but I understand, why people are comparing it.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I don't think they should do that because they're just two very different businesses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was my point. So the whole point was that they were different. But that was just a quick tidbit to talk about capitalism, to be honest. And the reason why people are actually comparing them is because they have the same net value. And so that alone is why they're comparing them. They're at the same place, but at different points in their life. Now, you don't have to be successful at a certain point in life, of course. Your path is your own path. But people are just looking at that and saying, what does that mean? They're just trying to find meaning in that comparison.
I mean, I understand it, but at the same time, Oprah is richer than her,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But Oprah's the queen.
Of course.
Yeah, Oprah's the queen.
Oh, no, I have people who like Oprah here. I'm hurting. Carlos, anything else you want to add, my dear friend?
No. Just keep doing your thing, and y'all have a good one.
Thank you so kindly for calling in, Carlos. Okay, let's go to Mark, line numero 6. Mark?
Yeah, am I on?
Yes, you're on, sir.
I just want to say I think we can draw a lot of parallels between the conservative Likud Party in Israel and the conservative Party now in the United States because, make America great again, all this kind of thing. It's very looking towards the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't keep looking at the past. The past has already happened. You can't change the past. And because these people are so scared that, they want to cling on to something because of their fear. I saw this drawing. If you can just imagine a cone of vision where the point is at your eyes and it spreads out as you go out, then you're outward looking. You're not
right.
fearful.
I like that.
Well, what happens with fear and anxiety is if you take that point and you reverse the cone where it actually spreads out into your mind, that's what the fear is. We tend to...
So we reverse the cone, my friend.
We reverse the cone.
Yes.
So we're projecting, actually, because we're looking at our minds, our reaction to our fear and anxiety, we project that out on the world.
Yes. I like the way you put that. Look, I preach that all of the times as far as the fear factor. And one of the reasons why I engage, I get into trouble sometimes with my friends on the left because they think first of all, that I engage with the right too much. They think I'm too friendly on the conservative side. They think by trying to find common ground, I'm a sucker, or that it just can't be. And my thing is like, first of all, I when I sit down and I speak to folks simply from a value proposition, right? It is amazing. You take out a couple of social issues out of the discussion, out of the discourse. It is amazing how similar all people, eliminate culture, eliminate race, and all of that. Right. Just look on these fundamental values, and you realize, damn, everybody really the same, man.
That's right.
You know, and then, but the plutocracy needs to create adverse actions to have us looking inward so that we don't look at those who are really manipulating it all.
Right. They feed the fear.
Exactly. So what we hear as the KPFTs and folks like yourself who know these things, we have to be the mouthpieces, because the plutocracy through their mainstream media won't. So we have to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I gave up everything to do this kind of stuff, because it was like, you know what? I'm writing a newsletter it was supposed to come out last night. It's coming out tonight, where I'm saying, folks, the reason why I want you to support the KPFTs, the reason I want you to support Politics Done Right and all these entities is we need it, because we need to be here. We've given up. When we see Leticia sitting down in the news doing the engineering right now, Leticia is sacrificing. She's a part of the, even though she may not come and say, I'm a part of the movement. She's a part of the movement. She's making a difference. We have to support this entire. Don't you agree, Leticia?
Yes, I do.
We all have to be on the playing field. We all have to do it, because it is us. So look, I got to let you go. I want to give my daughter about 5 or 10 seconds to say something, because she's here in Houston with me, and then we're going to close this baby out, okay?
Yeah, I really appreciate the sacrifice you made to give up, the so-called good life so that you can share things in other people's lives.
That is what makes America great. That is what's going to make America great. Thank you so kindly, Mark.
Thank you.
And Ashley, it was a pleasure having you into the studio with me. Give me a quick 10-second closer.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah's over, and so Merry Christmas and Happy Kwanzaa.
Okay, folks, I got 8 seconds. Thank you so kindly for listening. Remember, this is Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end it. I am out.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.